Hello and welcome to Money Tips. Hi, this is Charles Kelly, bringing you money tips to help you save, earn, invest, accumulate and enjoy more money. I'm the author of the book, Yes, Money Can Buy You Happiness. I spent 25 years in financial services, so I know a little bit about money, and I've seen thousands of people and reviewed their situation in great depth. So what I want to talk to you today about is some quick fire tips to beat those January blues. You know, this is the time of year when it's the longest gap for a lot of people between paydays. You know, a lot of people got paid a few days before Christmas, maybe the 20th, 22nd, and they're not going to get paid maybe until towards the end of January. So it can be that tough moment. You know, you spent a lot of money over Christmas. You know, the credit card bill is starting to hit your doorstep. Maybe you put on a few pounds even. And, you know, January is a time when, you know, it's that post-Christmas. It's a slightly down time after all the celebrations before Christmas. So I'm going to give you some money tips to help you get over some of those January blues. Now, first of all, when that credit card bill hits your doorstep, make sure you deal with it. Make sure you open that envelope and, you know, do something with it. Don't just ignore it and put it to one side with a pile of, you know where they are. You know they're coming from the credit card. Don't just put it to one side. You know, do you have a plan this year for paying off your debt? Could you say, well, I owe £10,000 on credit cards. I can't pay it off all in one go, but maybe I can pay £200 a month off, or maybe I can pay a little bit more. What is your plan? Now, if you look at the interest part of your credit card statement, it will say, you know, money available to spend, yeah, all that nice spending bit, but down below it will say, you know, what you've paid. Hopefully you're paying your credit card bills on direct debit, not going down to the bank and maybe being late. And then it will say the interest that you've been charged that month. And, you know, it might be quite substantial. It could be hundreds of pounds. Therefore, you might want to consider switching your credit card to an interest-free provider. Excuse me. You might want to look at some of those interest-free deals. Now, yes, we know that there's a fee involved. Usually there's a 2% fee involved, but it still can be worth it if you get a period of interest-free credit on a credit card where you can move your money over, and then you don't have to pay that interest that you're paying now. So if you're paying, say, £100 or £200 a month in interest now, then why not switch it to a card provider that will give you an interest-free period, and then use that excess, instead of spending that excess, use that excess to pay off some of the capital. Now, there's some quite good deals around at the moment, although they have restricted the time that you can get this interest-free period from. It is starting to change. You used to be able to get up to 48 months, I think, with I can't remember, HMB, MBNA. You could get up to 48 months. Now, the most you can probably get is around 29 months or up to 29 months, depending on your credit score. Sainsbury's and Virgin are offering quite good deals for interest-free credit. And, you know, the idea is that you switch it to them, but diarise forward when that interest-free period comes to an end and try and pay it off in that time. Because don't forget, you're not paying the interest, so why not use at least that portion of the interest? And it gives you that breathing space, really. But the important thing is to never miss a payment, because if you miss a payment, your interest-free deal will end. So that's something you might want to do. Look at the interest-free. You can go on comparison sites. You can go on pre-authorized. You know, you can go on sites that will show you whether you qualify for cards before you start applying here and there and everywhere. Some of your own credit card providers might be sending you letters now saying, would you like to switch to us for an interest-free period? That can be sometimes easier than applying for a new card all over again. So look out for your post. There might be some deals on your doorstep now. You know, on your doormat, you'll pick it up and say, oh, we're offering you an interest-free period for a period of 12 months, 2 years, whatever. But it will give you that buffer, and it will certainly save you. I mean, even if you save, you know, £100 a month in interest, that's £1,200 a year. That's £2,400 over a 2-year period, and you know, over 3 years, it's like £3,000 you could save in interest if you're paying, you know, £100 a month. So it's well worth doing, and you can get that card reduced, the balance reduced. Obviously, it's self-assessment day for self-assessment month. The deadline for the self-assessment is the end of this month. So if you're self-employed, make sure you get that tax in, preferably before midnight on the 31st of January to avoid the fine and get it out of your head, really. It can be quite stressful doing your tax. I think if you have a spreadsheet during the year, it's much easier to do your tax at the end of the year rather than rifling through bills and statements and that sort of thing. But this is the end. This is the final deadline. You really should have had it done earlier than this, but it is the final deadline, and you'll have an automatic fine. I think it's £100 if you don't submit your tax return by the end of this month. So you've only got a couple of weeks left, and also we've got to bear in mind tomorrow is 2 weeks before we come out of the EU. Brexit Day is the 31st of January, the same day as the final day for the self-assessment. Okay, so that's the other tip. I said about never missing payments. It's a good idea to have a small overdraft facility. And I know yesterday I talked about banks charging 40% for overdrafts, but it's still a good idea to have an overdraft facility so that you have that cushion, you have that buffer, so that if your account does slightly go overdrawn by £10 or £20, the bank are not going to bounce some of your payments or your direct debits, because the last thing you need is a bounced payment for your credit card or your mortgage or your rent. So have a small overdraft facility, even if it's only a couple of £100 or £500. It's always a good idea to have it, even if you never use it. Now, talking about banks, now is a great time to review your account to see if you're getting the best deal, the best interest rate. Many banks like Santander have changed their interest rate. They've reduced their interest rate whilst increasing overdraft fees, overdraft interest to 40%. They've reduced the amount they're paying savers. So it's a double whammy for their customers. Thank you, the banks. So now is a good time to look around and see if you're getting the best deals. HSBC, First Direct will pay you up to, I think it's £100 to £175 if you just switch to them. And that's not a bad little bonus to get in January. Your direct debits and payments can be seamlessly switched over, apparently, to the new bank. So you don't have to go and manually do that. This was because the government forced banks to make it easier for people to switch banks and switch accounts. You also want to review your savings rates, and remember that you only have a couple of months to go before you top up your ISA. Your ISA payment, right? If you've got an ISA, you should have an ISA because ISAs are tax-free. So you've only got the sunlight's coming in here. You've only got a couple of months to look at that. So now might be a good time to see A, if you're getting the best deal on your ISA, and B, if you can put a little bit more, maybe even put your maximum in. I think you can put up to 20,000 a year now, but it's always a good idea to max out your ISA, because once you have that allowance for the year, that 20,000 allowance, once that's gone, it's gone. You can't do anything with that anymore. Now, I know it's early. You've got till the end of the tax year, which is the 5th of April, but it's a good time to start thinking about it now, because those couple of months will soon fly by, and then it's gone. You've lost that allowance. So review your savings rates and your ISAs. Yeah, to make sure. Look at your current account, for instance. What are they paying you on your current account? Could you get a better deal switching somewhere else? Are you being charged a fee on your current account? Could you get an account that doesn't charge you a fee? Sometimes if you switch to new banks, they'll give you a better overdraft facility. They'll give you a card offer and this sort of thing. So it's I know loyalty is a good thing, but sometimes loyalty doesn't pay when you're dealing with banks, because what they do with your accounts is that they increase rates on new accounts and then leave your account dormant, and then it gradually goes down, and you're sitting in an account paying 0.25% when you could be sitting in an account paying 1 or 2%. It makes a lot of difference. That's 4 times the amount you could have been earning. Now, a lot of people now will be booking their holidays. There's all these ads on TV, right? Book a holiday, go on a cruise, go here, go there. Great, do that. Book your holiday, but when you book your holiday, I've said this before, always book your travel, always buy your travel insurance when you book, not just before you fly, or buy an annual travel insurance policy that covers you for multiple trips. An annual policy is good if you're doing more than one holiday a year. Most people do now, don't they? They've got half terms, they've got Christmas, they've got summer breaks, they've got skiing, all these things. So if you have an annual policy, it saves you buying it each time. And an annual policy should work out cheaper if you're doing several trips, but it also covers you for those weekend trips. You might have a weekend trip going to Devon, or you might just do a weekend trip up north, or whatever, Lake District. You might just do a drive up there, and you don't think about travel insurance then, but things can go wrong on those weekend trips, and most people don't book travel insurance for a trip in country. They think, well, what do I need travel insurance for? I'm only going away for a couple of days. But you can have accidents, you can have illnesses, all sorts of things can happen. You might have an illness and have to cancel the hotel, and it's too late to get a refund. So travel insurance is not just about losing your baggage or having a theft or getting sick when you're abroad. It's also about cancellation. Now, if you buy your travel insurance when you book, and you don't have to do it with the travel agent or with the travel company, you can search around for the best deal yourself, but have it anyway. Then if you get sick before you're traveling, or you have an accident, or something goes wrong and you can't have you can't take your holiday, then you're covered under your travel insurance. Whereas normally you won't get a refund on flights and holidays at the last minute, but lots of people have illnesses, lots of people need to cancel their holidays, and they can lose thousands and thousands of pounds. It's bad enough having to cancel your holiday without being out of pocket as well. So make sure you have that travel insurance when you book, not just before you fly. And as I said, look at annual policies, look at annual travel insurance policies. Your bank offer them. You can get them all over the place. You can just Google it. I think £100 a year or £100 and something a year. I've got one. It's always a good idea. Some bank accounts will give you an annual policy for free. So those are the main things at the moment. Remember that deal with those credit card bills. Look for interest-free credit offers. Review your accounts, your bank accounts, to see if you're getting the best interest rate. Arrange a small overdraft facility if you haven't got one already, and review your savings, and think about ISAs. Think about topping up your ISAs before the end of the tax year. Make sure you do your self-assessment if you're self-employed, and when you book your holidays, and a lot of people do it this time of year, always buy your travel insurance when you book. So that's all the quick-fire tips for today and for January. It's a funny month. It's a bit of a January blues. The weather's cold, it's dark, and that sort of thing. But hopefully, if you get on top of these things, then you can have a good year. And thanks for listening. Thanks for those who've tuned in. Hi to Rodney there, and Salome. Thanks for tuning in on Facebook Live and on my podcast, which you can find on iTunes and Stitcher. This has been Charles Kelly, author of Yes, Money Can Buy You Happiness. Thanks for listening, and have a great day. Bye for now.